Hi, yes. I want to play every Star Wars game ever made.
Good luck.
Playing every Star Wars game ever was a little bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
You wouldn't happen to know where I could find some Star Wars games, would you?
It's like asking Chinese AI to generate a fight between Vader and Darth Maul. And not only did I want to play them, I want to rank them, dude. I want to, you got S tier at the top, and then, you know, the bottom is F tier. Now, I had to find over 40 years of games. Nintendo 64, the GameCube, bro, the Wii, VR, and in the Xbox 360 Connect that I found on some guy's porch. All of the games that led us here to the big new release by Ubisoft. Gonna be a lot to unpack there. But I ain't playing Star Wars chess, dude. I'm trying to have fun, not solve math equations with Count Dooku. The 80s was a time of video games that beep and boop and infinitely side-scrolling screens. 1982's The Empire Strikes Back was no different. Using your speeder, you got to take down these Imperial walkers, and that's pretty much it. That's all you do. And by today's standards, this is about as fun as a presentation about delayed bowel movements. But in the 80s, they didn't have that much to do. They played with sticks and hoops, I think. So this was an adrenaline-pounding reenactment of one of the best scenes from the movie. And for that reason, I'm gonna give it a B for effort. Also, while we're back in the first era, did you know when the original trilogy aired in Chile in 2003? They actually put the commercial breaks in the movie. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Father wanted you to have this when you were old enough. Cerveza Cristal! Cerveza Cristal!
That lives rent-free in your head now. I just don't have anything good to say about this game. Even in 1983, they were like, nah. In Jedi Arena, two players face off against each other with lightsabers. To duel? Oh, no, that would be fun. You just deflect one of those Jedi ball training things till the other player gets hit enough. Stop trying to be Star Wars Pong, F tier. If you wanted to immerse yourself in the cockpit of an X-Wing fighter in 1982, your best bet was to empty out a refrigerator box, pop a couple Quaaludes, and wait for the Force to take you to a galaxy far, far away. But in 1983, you just had to go to an arcade. Atari's Star Wars is just one of those classic arcade shooters. Shooting down TIE fighters and, you know, doing the trench run scene to blow up the Death Star. It's always a good time, even if it's just like these 3D vector graphics. A tier. Today, to diagnose epilepsy, the doctor will hook you up to an EEG machine. In the 80s, they made you play Death Star Battle. Oh my God, that's bright. That's no moon, that's Café Huesos. This is one of those games where you look at the screen and you say, what the hell do you want me to do? What am I supposed to do? But then you figure it out and you're like, all right, okay. It took me a while to learn that I had to go through the disco dance floor thing to progress. But I got the Millennium Falcon, I got to shoot at the Death Star. I liked it, it's a B tier for me. Return of the Jedi was a follow-up to the third movie in the series, and but I need to say it. The fast-paced isometric games they were doing at this time, I can't do them. I don't like them. I don't like how the perspective of the character is at like an angle. So when I press up, my speeder goes forward. If I actually want to go up, I gotta press left. It straight up gives me dyslexia probably. The only thing I liked is the Ewoks. When you get to the end of the first level, all the Ewoks are like sitting in the trees going like, suck it, suck it. I thought that was funny, so I'm gonna give the dirty little Ewoks a D tier. 1987 Star Wars is like if you asked a development team in Japan who's never seen Star Wars to make a Star Wars game, because that's exactly what happened. You got a lightsaber, but other than that, everything is wonky. In the first mission, you got to rescue R2-D2 and some Jawas for some reason, while platforming across Tatooine and dying to everything, especially sand.
I don't like sand.
What is that inside the Jawa walker? Café Huesos! It feels like it's trying its hardest to be Mario Star Wars. And then you gotta fight Darth Vader, who becomes a scorpion when you hit him. Why? F tier for Darth Scorpion. Oh my God, am I getting an Amber Alert? Hey, let me tell you something. When the Gollum game came out, I was thinking, who thought this was a good idea? Nobody. Nobody was sitting around saying, you know what would be cool? An entire game about the weakest character in the series. Who would make this? I'll tell you who. The development team for Ewoks and the Dandelion Warriors. I'm a pretty optimistic guy. I'm a nice guy, but I don't like Ewoks. My girl thinks they're adorable little space hamsters, but I just think they're creepy. Those dead, soulless eyes, the British people teeth. It just gives me this off-putting feeling that when we're not looking, these dudes are getting into some freaky shit. But I controlled my irrational fear the best I could to give this game a fighting chance. And it didn't matter at all. This might be the worst game that I've ever played. And I don't say that lightly. All you can do is throw spears at like blue blobs and then move forward very, very slowly. It's just so bad. Hey, if you ever do attempt to play this game, do me a favor. Turn the sound off. The ear-splitting sound effects are so unreasonably loud. Like every time you die, it plays this like deafening, flatlining sound effect. This is the easiest F tier I've ever given out. I don't even want to give 1988's droids the time of day. As soon as I pressed start and I saw C-3PO's raging robo hard on, I was out.
No! Dirty!
F tier. No, stop. What does that even mean? Oh, wait, Bones Coffee. That's what he's saying. Like it's the sponsor of today's video. Would you like to try coffee that's made out of bones? No? Good, because this coffee's made out of beans, but not just any beans. These beans have a Gungan energy shield around them, protecting them from bad things like gluten and sugar. I felt like Augustus Gloop in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory walking around this place. I just wanted to scoop up a handful of coffee beans and shove them down my gullet. It smelled so good. They just launched their limited edition Star Wars flavors, bro. I highly recommend the Twin Sun Tiramisu for those chipper mornings full of love and hope. Or Dark Side Chocolate Truffle when you feel like you could just, when you just choke the next person that talks to you. But you're thinking, hey, I'm just a scruffy little nerf herder. What am I supposed to get some? I want some. Bones Coffee ships all over the galaxy, dude. By joining their coffee club for free using the link in the description, you can get 20% off any order right now. Or check your local Walmart for some delicious Bones cold brews. In my humble opinion, the 90s is where these games start to really get going. Star Wars for the NES is visually aesthetic and the tunes be jammin'. But like many OG Nintendo games, the level design is brutal. Like there were so many times where I'm like, is this a ledge or is this like part of the artwork? I don't know. I died a lot, but they give you a bunch of lives to compensate. And so for me, this is like the first full-on Star Wars game, you know? You get to travel to major locations from the movie, you get a health bar, and it's a challenging yet rewarding platformer. I'm gonna give it a B tier. Attack on the Death Star, this is another one of those like only in Japan games. I guess that's why they basically stole the 21st Century Fox intro. And it was really hard to find. But yo, surprisingly worth it. They took the same premise and the graphics of Star Wars Arcade, but gave you the ability to control your flight directions and zoom out to third person, which I love. Pretty cool, but a little repetitive. Japan gets a C. The Empire Strikes Back was released on NES just a year after its predecessor. It's like a completely different game. The level design has some of the most depth I've seen. Every time you fall into like a little pit, you're like, oh no, I'm dead, and then you just keep falling to another level. Like you just keep going down. You can ride on a mount, you jump a little bit like a frog. Overall, I think it's pretty fun. I was gonna give it a B tier, but then I used my lightsaber. And they made Luke's lightsaber red. So either they're trying to subtly implement Luke's actually a Sith fan theory thing, or they done messed up Aaron. I bet it's the latter. C tier. They were just pumping them out in the 90s. Super Star Wars released within a year of Star Wars for the NES. Now to understand how crazy that is, that'd be like if Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 launched in 2008 on a brand new PS5. It is so much better. And over the next couple years, they just kept pushing them. You got Super Nintendo Empire and Return of the Jedi as well. Being born in 1994, these are some of those games that I can like vaguely remember playing somewhere at like my grandma's or somebody's grandma's house. But all I know is one thing for sure. These are some hard games. They're beautiful for sure, but dude, you don't take like a step. You don't take one single step where you're not taking damage and something's popping out of the ground. You got Jawas tossing potatoes or something, birds picking you up and dropping you on your head. The game is designed to drive you insane, but like a fun kind of insane. They got werewolves, like there was werewolves. This is Star Wars. The Super Star Wars trilogy is without a doubt a classic. I'm gonna give it an A tier. When I started this video, I knew there was gonna be some games that someone out there idolizes that are probably pretty good, but I just don't like at all. The X-Wing series is that to a T. There were 4 of these that came out in the 90s, and they are straight up flight simulators. They're the most complicated games that I played during this entire journey. You have to learn the navigation system to find the enemies that you're even supposed to attack. You gotta do all the buttons, like a lot of buttons.
I don't know what any of this shit is, and I'm fucking scared.
It just reminds me of all those like hardcore survival games that were coming out in the 2010s where you got to learn like hundreds of mechanics to even play it. Like it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if your X-Wing fighter pilot had like a catheter hooked up that, you know, you had to empty out every 5 minutes or you get sepsis. D tier. My camera footage is gone for this game for whatever reason, but 1993's Rebel Assault is much simpler than the X-Wing games. And it's a lot more colorful, but it's so much harder to control. It took me a full hour just to get through the opening sequence. I just kept crashing into the canyon. Because of the blocky EMS paint graphics, I had 0 depth perception. I really wasn't feeling this one. This is a D tier for me. In 1995, we finally get an actual first-person shooter. We get to run, we get to gun in a Doom-style Star Wars game, including a lot of puzzles that you would have wanted to look up on YouTube to get a guide on how to get past it, but it's 1995, so you can't do that. The badass Dark Troopers that we get to see in Star Wars decades later, this is the game they were created for. Star Wars Dark Forces is a B tier. I liked Rebel Assault 2 so much more than the first game. It's like the perfect example of what I think of when nobody asks me what 90s games were like. There was like this specific time period between like 95 and somewhere in the early 2000s where before they had CGI cutscenes, they created live action sequences with actual actors, and the acting was so bad. It is like late night Cinemax on crack. It's so bad. So you got that, but this game took it a whole step further, where the actual combat scenes too are filmed on blue screens with actors as the enemies, and they're just keyed into the sequences. It's a really cool use of technology at the time, and I just think that's awesome, and it's fun to play. This is a B tier game. Shadows of the Empire is one of those games where you think you remember it, but you're actually mashing up a couple games from your childhood. I had my brother bring it over from my dad's house where it's literally been sitting with our N64 that we've had since the 90s. After some standard troubleshooting, I was able to get it working. Now the first level is exactly like I remember it. You know, you're blasting through the walkers, you got probes, you're using the rope to go around and make the walkers fall down. It's literally the best, the most fun flying game I've had so far. I thought the whole game was like this, but nah, it's just the first level. After Hoth, you're on foot in third person for the rest of the game. And it's not bad per se, but definitely not as much fun to shoot around as the next game. C tier. Listen to this dude die. Sounds like Jimmy here, doesn't it? Also, I really don't like the name, Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2. Like, if this was just gonna be a sequel, could they just call it Dark Forces 2? Why use more word when less word do trick? This is actually a problem that a lot of the Star Wars games had. Anyways, this game takes everything that was great in the first game and it made it better. The levels are huge, dude. They're so big. You get a lightsaber, you get to use the Force to take away guns from stormtroopers, and then they just run around all stupid, just not picking up another one for some reason. And the live action cutscenes that I love so much are great. These actors make Tommy Wiseau look like an Oscar nominee. I like this game a lot. It is an A tier. I grew up playing Soul Calibur, Mortal Kombat, you know, Tekken, weekend 1v1 tournaments where boys became men and men became boys. I don't know. You figure that one out. But I never tried Masters of Terras Kasi. Never even heard of it. And after a couple battles of doing my standard, spamming the low ground kick until the other player dies, I didn't miss much. This game isn't bad. It just brings nothing special to the table, except the option to play as everyone's favorite character, Horror. What would we do without Horror? Am I right? C tier. I think Star Wars Rebellion is some kind of strategy game. The game's played on a board and you have to control all the planets and what they're doing. You use a bunch of menus, but I couldn't figure it out. And I don't know, I'm dumb and it made me feel more dumb. F tier. Now this game I've 100% played before. I have some like vague memory of being at one of those pizza buffet restaurants with my family. A palace of dairy and carbs, if you will. And while dad was helping himself to the 6th slice of macaroni and cheese pizza, my brothers and I would be given a few tokens to go to the like mini arcade room. And this is the type of game that I would always play. They got action, in your face, colorful graphics. That reticle that is just so damn hard to keep on targets so that you die and then you have to use more tokens. Just a perfect activity after eating one of those cinnamon toast crunch pizza dessert things. This is a hard B tier. This is it. This is the game that I thought Empire was. Rogue Squadron on the Nintendo 64 is one of those unique times where everybody was saying it. Everybody was saying the snow speeder mission from the Shadows of the Empire was so cool. Why don't you just do a whole game like that? And then they did. Within a couple years, they did that. I mean, at this point, I'm already so sick of the Death Star battle type games. I've done it. I've been doing it. And I'm pretty sure before we're done, I'm gonna do it some more. You're on the ground. You're getting down and dirty in dogfights with TIEs. TIE fighters, not the people that cook the spicy Asian food that makes me have to go poo-poo. I also really like that after every mission you get graded on your performance, awarding you with an applicable medal. And not to brag, but I was giving it to the Empire. I picked myself up a bronze. I love everything about this game, and I'm gonna give it the rightful place it deserves as our first S-tier game. Yoda Stories was a Game Boy Color game that I really wanted to enjoy, as I had a Game Boy Color during this era. Now, if I was 6 again and I was playing this game in my bedroom on full blast to drown out the sounds of my parents wrestling, I could see this game hit. It's definitely something to do, but I just came off of the banger that is Rogue Squadron. And it really just felt like a generic Game Boy adventure with not a lot of content and really depressing combat. Gonna be a D for me. Finally, I get me some Qui-Gon Jinn, the most Asian sounding name ever given to the least Asian actor in the world.
Hi, I'm Liam Neeson. I'm from Ballymena, County Antrim, and I talk like this.
All right, look, Phantom Menace is a clearly flawed movie. We all agree. We know this. But seeing it in theaters at 5 years old was one of the greatest cinematic experiences of my life, other than maybe King Kong in 2006. Like, we had to sit on the floor. The theater was so packed. I can only imagine that's what it was like for my dad to go see A New Hope back in 1977. The game has that same kind of wonky charm. You get that PlayStation 1, like 4th person, I guess, camera view. That's just so high up for no reason. You can kill kids. You can deflect shots with your lightsaber and deflect them into kids. You can use the Force to push droids or the Force push to kill kids. They even made a dying sound effect for them. They knew that there were going to be little hobgoblins like me that were going to do this.
Help me! No!
But it's not just the kids. You can kill anyone. Anyone. And they don't do much to stop you. Phantom Menace is a B tier. Straight up B tier. One of my favorite scenes from the movie is the pod race. All I wanted to do was race one of those things so bad. Episode 1 Racer gave me the opportunity to do that. There was speed, there was cool tracks, and a whole lot of speed. I love this game. It's just a racing game. It's a lot of fun. Unfortunately though, for little Annie, he never did accept that his pod racing days were over and was arrested after a high-speed chase in South Carolina. Game's a B tier. Now, as we start to go into the 2000s, you're going to notice that, this was a weird time in gaming. It was now an expectation that every game going forward was going to have these stunning 3D new graphics. But this resulted in pretty much everything else sometimes being put on the back burner. Jedi Power Battles is one of those games. Right off the bat, when you start it up, you got Mace Windu without his purple. Then you get into the game and deal with this. Bro, let me move. And Qui-Gon's saber stance makes no sense. He runs with it kind of like sheathed, but on the whole time. What are you doing? Your thigh ain't even a little toasty, you telling me, Qui-Gon? I ended up discovering this little hidden ability that made it easier to get through the levels. Jumping. Just jumping around everywhere I went like an idiot. D tier.
Choose your game.
I don't know what we're doing, but I like it. There's got to be a perfect song for this dance, right? Hold up.
Think about me every night, oh.
Nope, that ain't it. But we're gonna figure it out before this video is over. I guarantee you that. Demolition is like Twisted Metal meets Star Wars. 8 players duke it out in a vehicular deathmatch, and it's just carnage. I actually had no idea what was going on the whole time. I thought I figured it out for a second. I got some power-ups and I was doing a lot of damage. And then a Rangor popped out of nowhere and just sucked me up with a tractor beam, and I got deleted back to the menus. And so I did a little more dancing with that chick that's probably on PCP. Oh, look at her. She's doing a little flip now. My brothers and I would have been throwing controllers at each other playing this in 2000. This is a B tier. And a lot of B tiers. I don't know why Battle for Naboo was made. I mean, we just did this with Rogue Squadron, but better. D tier. Force Commander wants to be an RTS so bad, but knowing as I do that there are actual Star Wars RTS games that are going to be coming up, this one just doesn't cut it. Most of your troops just get dropped in, and I don't like this one. So it's going to go all the way down to F tier. Obi-Wan's Adventures is sometimes confused with Obi-Wan for the Xbox, and that it is not. It's just another Game Boy Color Star Wars game with some puzzles. You do get to deflect shots now, though, back at people with the lightsaber, while pixelated Ewan McGregor does the Cuban shuffle towards them. And I thought that was pretty funny. So I'm gonna give this game a C tier. I friggin' love Starfighters. Seeing Mando pilot one in his show was just, ugh. My favorite thing about them is how they look when they fly. And Starfighter is completely in first person. The whole game. You get a tiny little mini map in the corner that shows like your angles in 3D. That sucks. It made me suck. It made me crash into walls a lot, and I didn't like that. There were a lot of bad flights in 2001, but somehow this one's one of the worst. D tier. Did that make you laugh? If it did, you're probably gonna like Bombad Racing because you're a silly goose. Super Bombad Racing is like the goofy cousin of Star Wars Racer. It's got wacky music, it's got ability pickups that you throw at other drivers, and the characters have big fat heads on little tiny bodies. They're probably gonna have some serious back problems in their 30s, but nobody's talking about that. It's just look at them, isn't that so funny, isn't that zany? This is the definitive We've Got Mario Kart at Home, but it's Star Wars. If you were a child in 2001, odds are you played this at one point or another. This is a C tier game. Everybody's gamer dad finds a game or two that they like, and then they just only play that. They just play that forever. Those 2 games for my dad are Age of Empires and Skyrim. This dude will come up to me at like family gatherings and be like, I found a way to get anything I want in Skyrim. Using the command console, I can spawn in like 1,000 gold. I don't think I'm supposed to be doing it, but I'm gonna keep doing it. Dad, I know. It's a very common thing. Everybody knows this. Like, people are doing mods. And with Age of Empires, he'd have all of me and my brothers hooked up to a hub, doing a big LAN party with like 5 computers at 7 years old. And literally all of us would lose every time. To this day, the only game we've never beaten him at. No, that one's not it either. Anyways, playing Star Wars Battlegrounds reminded me a lot of that Age of Empires feel. You get the villagers to get the trees, you get the trees to get the wood, and the wood to build the defenses. All of that is there, and I cannot believe I never played this. Might have to bring a copy over to Dad's next time we're all together. Also, what I really dig about this game, they didn't hold back on the unit options. You can build straight up like the big AT-AT walkers. This one's getting an A tier for all the games the dads never let us win. Remember how I said we do more attacking the Death Star? This is what I was talking about. Rogue Squadron 2 is basically just the same flight mechanics as the first game, just a little bit tighter, a little bit more tweaked. And you get to control your own squad and tell them where to go. But it did it in a place that I didn't really want to do it, so C tier. Star Wars Obi-Wan is a fun game, man. Launched exclusively on the first Xbox in 2001. This is everything you wanted in a Jedi game at the time. Other than Obi-Wan looking like Sid the Sloth and sounding like he's got a cold or something.
Are you sure my presence here is necessary?
There was a lot of ways to enjoy this experience. You get to use the Force to pick up objects and move them a little bit. This is the only game, as far as I know, where you use the right stick as the lightsaber controls. I thought that was kind of cool. Oh, and the flips. Let me tell you about the flips. Anybody who's played Obi-Wan on the original Xbox knows this game is about one thing. It's all about the flips. What you gonna do, huh? What you gonna do, huh? There's nothing particularly groundbreaking here, but I had a lot of fun playing it, and this is gonna be a B tier. Back to unnecessarily long title games, Star Wars Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, is the first game in the series where you could teabag stormtroopers. So that's pretty neat. While the story's pretty good following the same protagonist in the first game, Kyle Katarn, you don't get a lightsaber till way later in the story, man. So this game is all about the multiplayer. For the first time, you can team deathmatch and capture the flag with lasers, tasers, and lightsabers. I couldn't get a match online, but games back then were built with this really cool feature called bots. Basically dumb idiot little AI that let you pummel the ever-living shit out of them so that you feel like a badass before getting stomped online by a player with Chinese letters. I can only imagine what lobbies for this game were like back in 2002. Either way, from what I played of it, this is an A tier. The new Droid Army is a fun little adventure game. I appreciated the lightsaber combat for being on a Game Boy, but you regenerate health the entire time, so it's really easy. There wasn't any challenge here. This is a C tier. Even though I got to play as my guy Ben Quadaneros, the Balchinian, this is a completely unnecessary sequel to Racer. It does nothing. There's no point. This is a D tier game. No. Every other movie in the prequel trilogy got like a dedicated game that was all about that movie's story. Attack of the Clones got this. F tier. They thought they were gonna trick me, huh? They thought they were gonna trick me by putting Jedi in front of in the title. This is just Starfighter with Jedi in front of it. Not today, ISIS. D tier. All right, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. Now picture this: Samuel L. Jackson in a tank. I'd watch that movie. Why? Because Clone Wars is a much better vehicular game than the Starfighter series. I would have rated it a bit higher if Mace Windu stayed in the tank. Upon examining the instant replay, there's almost like a plea of mercy coming from Sam L's eyes here, you know? As if he's trying to say, help me, motherfucker. What's crazy is the people that thought this was a good idea are the same people that would use it as a template for a cult classic that would come out just a couple years later. All said and done, this game and Mace Windu's Tyler One-shaped head are a C tier. Here's Jango Fett, and now here's Jango's feet, because sometimes I misspell stuff. It's flabbergasting to me, and that's not a word I use very often, that we only have one Star Wars Bounty Hunter game. How are we over here getting 2 Starfighter doo-doo games, and we just got one? We can't get one sequel to Bounty Hunter. We get to play as Jango Fett, Boba's daddy, Boba's papa, voiced by none other than Tamura Morrison, the Kiwi Joe Rogan. The voice that comes to mind when you think of the clones and the Fetts. He's, really basically the voice of all of them. I love flying around in the jetpack and shooting guys with dual-wielded blasters. There's a bounty system where in the middle of missions, you have like the option to scan NPCs and see if they have a bounty on them and then get them, dead or alive. But the camera angles, like many games on the GameCube in this era, suck. Especially in tight hallways. Like, I don't know if the cameraman has got like a straight up dumpy that he's trying to wheel around, but it takes me out of it. It gets stuck and it doesn't work. It's been over 20 years. We need a new Star Wars Bounty Hunter. But for now, this is all we got, and it is a B tier. Yeah, I'm gonna be stingy with my S tiers, okay? They're coming. They're coming. All right, let's start up Rogue Squadron 3. What the fuck? I have no idea why that is the start to this game, but the Death Star disco ball thing is the only thing good about this game. Nah, this game is one of the ones I had on GameCube when I was a kid, and it's actually the best of the trilogy. They have some of like the biggest feeling aerial battles so far, and it's not immediately at the Death Star, which is cool. This game is an A tier. I wanted to play this game so bad in 2003. At the time, 4th grade was popping with the RuneScape. But there was this cool group of kids who had this new MMO that just came out set in the Star Wars universe, Galaxies. And they had this special table of lunch. And they all sit there and talk about it. And I wasn't allowed to sit there because I didn't have the game. But after a lot of work, look who's playing it now, Connor, Alex, other generic white child names. When I logged in, I was pretty surprised. I found a server with 899 players in it. And I absolutely love dedicated communities of, players with nostalgia for something that died a long time ago and they're still keeping it alive. I think that's so cool. cool. And that way it's always kind of still around for posterity's sake and for players like me to come in and experience it. They still to this day hold full-on like major community events. Jedi tournaments. I gave my character 0 cheeks, 0 jaws, and some of that jaundice. You get to choose different roles to play as, and that matters. And Han Solo is so big. He's a big dude. Look at how big Han Solo is. Will you hold my hand, Mr. Solo? I made a real person friend and we rolled around for a little bit. Now, I'm not sure if this build of the game is just maybe like incomplete, but once I left the starter area, I had no idea what I was supposed to do. There really wasn't a lot of direction. The world is massive and it is pretty empty outside of a few like small mission locations in the cities. I completed a few quests, I gained a couple levels, then hanged out doing absolutely nothing but dancing in a little bar in Mos Espa, where everyone was gathered for some reason. And of course, it didn't take long for General Chat to get racist. Very, very standard MMO stuff. But this is another one of those games. I just can only imagine what it was like to play this in 2003, 2004. With what was available to me, I have to give this game a C tier. This game is disrespectful to the Millennium Falcon. It's boring and the TIE fighters look like asteroids and that made my eyes hurt. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, R2 at the beginning just shows me a hologram of a British flag. R2 joined the dark side. Biscuits aren't cookies, F tier. I've been told over and over again how good Knights of the Old Republic is. It's one of the best RPGs of all time. It has this, it has that. And it turns out it's true, completely true. Oh my God, this game is so good. And I don't even like turn-based combat. And in fact, I hate it. It's so boring and immersion breaking for me. It's like, hey, I hit you, now your turn, you hit me. But somehow Knights just pulls it off for me. And they could have easily just made another Clone Wars era setting. That's what everybody else was doing. But no, they took us back 1,000 years before any of the events from any of the movies happened. Because they got balls, big fat Jabba the Hutt balls. And there is so many RPG mechanics that, get this, actually matter for the game. Your character build, the class, the perks you choose and level up along the way. All of that matters and actually affects the way the game turns out drastically. Like, you get to make decisions all the time. I could have let this chick live that didn't pay off her debt to the Syndicate, but instead the game gave me the option to put her on her knees and die. That's an important part probably, and die. Every time I was given a choice with zero hesitation, I chose the wrong one because I'm a bad boy. I just want to be naughty. Doctor Guy has a locked door. I unlock it because that's just what I do. Turns out he's hiding people in test tubes. That's messed up. They have fully voiced NPCs that are like fully into their role. And she sold me a droid at a really low price. And I was like, cool, now I got a little buddy. I got a little droid buddy to roll around with me. And as soon as we walked out the door, boom, he exploded. And I lost money on that. Knights of the Old Republic is a 10 out of 10. It is not just nostalgia. I thought it was, but it wasn't. The only reason that you might not like this game is if you're one of those like Warzone kids on German tanker chocolate slide canceling around. Turn-based combat, probably not gonna do it for you. This is a S tier game.
Aren't you? I mean, well, why would you be?
Wait, I know this guy's voice. This is Goofy's son Max. Jedi Knights Jedi Academy is a lot like Jedi Knights Jedi Outcast. You see what I'm saying? What are we doing? Title guy. The biggest difference is that you get the lightsaber right from the start of the game. The force abilities are really cool in this one. You get to like slow down time. I didn't even know that they did that. Also, you get to choose your loadout at the beginning of each mission. And that's a really cool way to try different weapons that function in different unique ways. Like the disruptor rifle. Let me tell you something. Until now, I did not know what this gun actually does to its victims. Mando has a disruptor rifle, and while he was poofing away Jawas, I thought that's neat. But check this out. This nefarious weapon affects matter at the molecular level, ripping apart living material with ease. Because of its inhumane nature, it's outlawed throughout the galaxy. Dude, that is brutal. I like it. Jedi Academy gets a B for brutal. It looks like a Flash game, but it's not. They made Luke with no soul. He runs like he's always falling forward, and you fall into holes a lot because the view is terrible and you have no idea what's underneath you, ever. F tier. After fawning all over the first game, I was expecting to have an even better RPG experience with this one, but I got a bug in the tutorial mission that no matter what I did would not let me complete it. So all I have to go on is that I played as my character for about maybe 5 minutes, and then I had to take control of this droid to unlock a bunch of doors, and it was really boring. I didn't like that. So I'm gonna give Knights of the Old Republic 2 a C. When I see this, Star Wars Battlefront is the first game that comes to mind. To really understand, I need you to picture the landscape of PvP console online games in 2004. It's Halo 2. It's basically just Halo 2. None of my friends were playing Call of Duty yet because they're lame and they don't like World War II. So Battlefront came in and played nothing like Halo. Instead of like really competitive TDM and capture the flag, it was just fun. It was all fun. You didn't care how many times you died. You're in this big battle and all the numbers are counting down for, you know, how many lives your team has left. You got to capture command points. It was awesome. It was a little lack of the content, but it really opened the door for what the future games in the series would be able to do with this as like a template. And it reminds me of some of the best times split screening with my brothers back then. Late weekend nights, drinking a bunch of random knockoff energy drinks that make you vibrate with the controller. I'm giving it a B tier. Speaking of Halo, I always hear Republic Commando being called Star Wars Halo. But does Halo do this? Every now and then you get a little bit of schmutz on your visor, and it has this wipe off effect to clean off your screen, and I could just bust, dude. I love it. I love that. You don't direct a squad around in Halo either. In Commando, you got to tell your guys to take cover. You got to tell your dude to get in a sniper crow's nest so he can snipe bad guys. And it's really important that you don't forget to tell him to leave that crow's nest, because if you do, he'll stay there for the whole level, and then you got to go back like 100 yards. He's just sitting there waiting for orders. But at the end of the day, this is just an action game with a lot of action, and it is the best gunplay up to this point. You got aiming down the sights. You can aim down the sights now, and this is the best it got in 2005. I'm giving it an A tier. Now let me tell you something. This is one of the best games of all time. It's Battlefront, but you get to control the heroes and you get to do space. Not only that, you can literally fly a ship to the hangar of an enemy ship and destroy all the core components inside like some type of Spec Ops demolition. When I learned that I could do this is all I wanted to do. This is all that I did. There was nothing else other than that. I don't think anybody would have any complaints with me saying this is an S tier game. He looks like he's about to take a I remember the premiere of Star Wars Episode 3 like it was yesterday, but it wasn't yesterday. It was 20 years ago. Oof. That ending, you were my brother, Anakin. The first time I think I ever got emotional during a movie. Second time might have been like the Human Centipede for other reasons. So getting to play through the events of my favorite movie from the prequel trilogy was really cool. Lightsaber attack combos, all the ways to use the Force, running away from Saruman with a lightsaber because he's scary. He was ex-Special Forces and made a heavy metal album in his 90s.
Charles, my dear son, the time has not.
So yeah, Christopher Lee's a scary guy. It's funny too, because playing through Episode 3 reminds me a lot of the Return of the King game, and the Return of the King game. Oh, that is such a good game. I just remembered that. I might have to play through all the Lord of the Rings games now. Give me a B for Episode 3. Now, there's some games that I just obviously have a lot of nostalgia for, and it's gonna give me a little bit of bias, I think, in my rankings. The Lego Star Wars series is, it's not one of those games. I don't know what happened. I just didn't play them. When these games started coming out, I was still on Battlefront and probably Guitar Hero or something. I had zero interest in Legos. I'm sorry. I don't know. Be mad at me. And with that said, I think these games still deserve their fair shake. And I don't think that I'm equipped to do that. So the best way that I could think of is to bring in an expert, Player 3. And guys, she just got so excited to help Dad make his video. And if I'm being honest, I've been so busy these last couple weeks trying to put this video together. And I remember, like, there's nothing better than your dad taking time out of his busy day to just play some video games with you. Player 4 and Chewy, who both just recently entered the game, joined us intermittently as well. And we were all of us were eating these games up. Shortly though into the first one, I realized realized, oh my God, I've never shown her Star Wars. I've never shown her Star Wars before. So I took the liberty to tell her exactly what they were about. Only the important stuff though, like Jar Jar Binks is the main protagonist and most feared warrior in the galaxy. She thought he was a frog. I just made sure that she knew he was a fan favorite. But overall, these are good games, man. We just get so caught up, I feel like, in all the negativity. I wanted to capture the feeling of Lego Star Wars in its raw form, how it felt to play these games as a kid, the rewarding feeling and the mildly challenging puzzles in the story of Star Wars. Now, yeah, I probably should just rank them all separately, but they kind of each give the same feel. They're fun party games that everyone can enjoy. That's what they aim to be, and that's what they revel in. And with many hours spent in game with my kid, Lego Star Wars is an S-tier series. Star Wars Empire at War reminds me of Battle for Middle-earth, and I freaking love Battle for Middle-earth. That's the best RTS of all time. The graphics and map design are pretty solid too, and it's similar, but it's way more complicated. Like you got your troops. They don't come out of buildings after you build them. They come out of the sky. You got to drop them down in these drop zones around the map, and I think that's stupid. Galactic Battlegrounds is the better of the two. This game is a C tier. There were two Lethal Alliances in 2006. There was this game and the relationship of Chris Brown and Rihanna. I thought Bounty Hunter had bad angles. Lethal Alliance makes Bounty Hunter look like it was shot by Steven Spielberg. Every time I take damage, I get like flashbang my whole screen, and I'd have to start a new save. So that didn't do the game any favors either. This is straight. This is a blowfish PSP game. I don't know what that means, but it's bad. Wait, hold on. No, that's still not it. But this game is an F tier. Renegade Squadron is basically a PSP port of Battlefront 2. The mechanics and the graphics had to be dumbed down a bit to fit onto the PSP. So it's not perfect, but overall it's pretty good. I was surprised that they were somehow still able to fit the awesomeness that is space battles into this. So I'm gonna give it a B tier. Force Unleashed is another classic that I had no idea what it was about. And oh man, you play as the most badass character in all of Star Wars. Star Killer. Which, okay, this is like, I get it. This is like my PP small, so I got a big truck type thing, right? Like Star Killer, right? Like Star Killer. Like, what you gonna do? You gonna kill the stars? But within 5 minutes, I was like, holy shit, this dude is the most powerful character in all of Star Wars. He's literally the apprentice of Darth Vader. I didn't even know that existed. The gameplay is a little dated by today's standards. Like, you got this like old school looking health bar. There's definitely some PS3 era jank, but I also recognized immediately, because it's in his likeness, that Star Killer is Sam Witwer. Probably one of the best things to ever happen to Star Wars. You ever see this dude on YouTube Shorts? Just listen to how he got this role.
Then I came in for an audition, and that's when me being a Star Wars nerd helped, because there was a scene we were doing, and the character's supposed to start in the scene meditating, assembling his lightsaber with the Force. And after a while, the director's like, we've done this scene 4 times. But the meditation, why are you playing it so tense? The meditation, you're so tense in the meditation. And I said, he doesn't know how to meditate. And the director's like, what? He's a Sith. He thinks this is how you do it. And you force the pieces together because this is my job.
A tier. After the popularity of the animated series, which again is something that I never watched, I'm sorry. I'm very aware of its impact and that it was not just a cartoon. I got it. We're cool. But it sparked the development of several games. The first of which was Clone Wars Jedi Alliance. This is a weird game. It came out on the Nintendo DS, and if you have ever played a DS game, they love that damn stylus. They built every freaking mechanic around it. That's all you did in those games. You fight with it like a 7-year-old who hates the drawing they just made. You're cutting holes in doors with it. I didn't really care for this game. It is a D tier. Clone Wars Lightsaber Duels was another fun one where Nintendo just wanted to really showcase their fancy magic wand. This one was a Wii remote. During the late 2000s in our house, there were 2 deadly projectiles. There were airsoft BBs and these little guys. Lightsaber Duels is another one of those games you could not forget to put on that wrist strap, because you're basically flailing this thing around in 1v1 duels. This is much better than PS1's Terrace Kasi, and it's a nice family-friendly way for young men to get right hand strength. Lightsaber Duels is a C tier. This is just Lego Star Wars without the Legos. I couldn't get past the crawler thing. The game wouldn't tell me what to do, and that made me angry. F tier. Another Battlefront on the PSP. Ooh, I'm always down to get on to some Battlefront. But then I got into a match of Elite Squadron. Let me tell you what happened here. I flew my ship. As you already know, space battles are my jam. They're my shit. And I was met with a cutscene when I left our team's hangar bay. Didn't like that. So whatever, I go to fly into the enemy ship's hangar bay. And all of a sudden, I smashed into a barrier preventing me from getting into the enemy ship's hangar bay. F tier. You know that weird kid that was always named like Jonas or something that would sit at recess by the anthill with a magnifying glass? This game made me feel like that. There is nothing, absolutely nothing in Star Wars that will make you feel more powerful than Star Killer in Force Unleashed 2. Ain't no messing around. From the start, you got every force power known to man, and you demolish everything. You're throwing stormtroopers everywhere. You're shooting lightning at them. You're doing mind tricks to convince them to kill their friends. You're crushing TIE fighters like soda cans. There's so many little details. Like at one point, I picked up this stormtrooper with the Force, and instead of accepting his impending doom, he grabbed his buddy, and they're both like just sort of wiggling around. So I just dumped him off into the abyss. I thought that was pretty funny. I also may be a psychopath. Star Killer has dual lightsabers in a backwards grip, and that is so cool. This is some of the most fun I've ever had in a game. It's an S tier. This is an S tier. In 2010, it was pretty common to come home from school and then, you know, you get some Capri Sun or some juice and you hop onto one of those free online MMOs for kids. You know, you got Toontown, Pirates of the Caribbean Online, Club Penguin, but Clone Wars Adventures never popped up on my radar. Never even heard of it. All of these game servers have officially been shut down. So I downloaded the Clone Wars emulator, and it's depressing, man. It's like a desolate liminal space with various really cool sounding mini games that you can't find a match for because nobody's in it, filled with NPCs having silent conversations to nobody, quest givers waiting for a player to come and, you know, get their bounty, or forever frozen in T-pose, reminiscent on all the children running around in 2010 trying to type elaborate ways to call each other gay in general chat. It's almost like a digital museum of what once was. For that, I give it a C tier, and the next game is the exact opposite. This is the most fleshed out MMO in the Star Wars universe. It came out in 2011 and it still has more players than Concord. Man, that poor game, I don't even know what happened. I wasn't even following it, but it launched. I blinked and then it was shut down. I started the Old Republic as the Jedi Knight class. I've been pretty naughty on most of these playthroughs, so I decided to be good for a change. So anyways, my character, Very Horny, who was named after all the silly horns coming out of his head, was able to get into some early dungeons. We were able to do some level grinding and even had some wholesome general chat engagements. Fedo Clip said, "Where can I buy a cheap mount?" I said, "My anus." So he responded with, "I'd destroy your anus." And this is how all MMO friendships are born. Look, if you like grinding World of Warcraft and you like Star Wars, The Old Republic is a jam, and it is a A-tier game. This was like the hardest game to play on my journey. Not only did I have to find a 360, but I had to find a working Kinect and an actual copy of Kinect Star Wars. Somehow, maybe because this video is my friggin' destiny, I found somebody who had all three.
So apparently my brother's father-in-law, Doug, has an Xbox 360 and Kinect Star Wars. So we're gonna go see if that's there.
Doug actually had it, and he told me I could take it home.
Thank you, Doug.
Now, I actually had a Kinect when this game released in 2012. There was nothing better than commanding your Xbox to wake up and do your bidding by shouting, "Xbox on!" But at this point, I really wasn't using it much anymore. I was too busy realizing that I messed up after graduating and not applying for college. So I was down at the recruiter's office and getting stationed in California, where I met the butter pecan Puerto Rican princess that I'm still with today. But I would have ate this game up if I knew about it. Not because you get to freely wave a lightsaber around and use the Force with nothing but your hands. That's child's play. The real gem here is the completely unnecessary dance mode. I don't know what these dudes were on, but replacing Jason Derulo's "I'm Riding Solo" with Harrison Ford dancing to "I'm Han Solo" is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life, dude. I'm giving it an A tier, and I would give Harrison Ford $20 and my mom to see him dance this for me in person. Battlefront remakes get a lot of hate. I don't keep up with things enough to really know why. Most online chatter is just like an echo chamber of drama anyway. I liked them. Battlefront 2, I'd even venture to say, is the best PvP experience in all of Star Wars. It's awesome. I was a pretty big fan of Battlefield 1's operations mode. When I got back from my last deployment in 2016, we all got it. My whole division, we all got that game. It was so much fun. And Battlefront has their own version of this called Galactic Assault, where you gotta like, one team is the offensive and they're trying to push back the defending team into their strongholds. And I suck because I haven't played much big team battle games in a while, but it was fun regardless. They're both free on Game Pass right now, so I'm gonna be getting a few friends to hop into that more and play more of that. Don't let people dictate what you play. These games are S tier. Galaxy of Heroes is Raid Shadow Legends. Not really my vibe unless I'm at the dentist office on the toilet waiting for my name to be called, or maybe waiting for the bloomin' onion to come out at the Outback Steakhouse at a forced dinner with my in-laws. Or I don't know, maybe, or they pay me to shill and stream it for an hour for the bag. Outside of those three precise occasions, I ain't playing it. This is an F tier. Hey, the Mongolian throat music at the very beginning kind of threw me off. But it was very welcome. You play as Cal Kestis, a budding Jedi with no soul. And now you see, this is the era where games started becoming dead set on making single player adventure games into big budget friggin' movies, dude. Like, you're playing a game, but the main focus is on visuals and the story, usually to the detriment of the actual gameplay. Jedi Fallen Order has an awesome story, a perspective that I've always wanted to see. What if you were a Jedi youngling that escaped Order 66, you didn't get killed, now you're just living in hiding? What are you doing? Ian from Shameless kills it as Cal Kestis. And the ensemble of side characters are some of the best I've ever seen in a game, including this little guy, BD1. He might even be better than R2. He's just so much more useful. Little dude was running around the whole time, grabbing stuff for me, perching up on my back like a little parrot. And what's great is the gameplay doesn't actually suffer from this. Like, there's a lot of parkour, but when there is combat, it's clean and it feels silky smooth. Like, the lightsaber is probably some of the best handling in all of the Star Wars games. I am giving this an A tier.
Yes, 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 kill them all, yes.
I just got a Meta Quest. I basically haven't played anything in VR. So maybe that's gonna make me a little biased, but this game blew my mind. VR is the bee's knees. What have I been missing? Vader Immortal's only downfall is that it is super short. It probably took me about 30 minutes to complete the entire game. And in most of the scenes, you're kind of just standing in place and, like, you know, hitting in one spot. You're not really moving a lot. But I'd say about 5 minutes in, I pretty much forgot who I was.
Hold up. Oh, I got it. I got it. I got the sword. Is this it?
I was there, man. I was in it. I seen some shit. It is so satisfying to pick up a stormtrooper in VR.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, baby. Oh my God, yes.
And you just throw them across the room. I literally can't describe what that feels like. You just have to experience it. At the end, I interrupted Vader watching Natalie Portman OnlyFans. He got super pissed, so I had to stop him by putting my saber into some giant orb. For Frodo! I was begging for more. This is the most immersive Star Wars experience. You gotta try it. It is an S tier. And I will take any and all suggestions for other VR games that I need to check out. Maybe it wasn't the best idea for me to do VR before playing Rogue Squadrons, because now that's everything. That's all I want. Technically, this game can be played with a headset, but you still got to use joysticks to fly around. Like, is it too much to ask to be able to use my hands to steer my ship? Overall, there's nothing wrong with this game. It controls pretty well, and it's good first-person Star Wars, fighter type game. But y'all already know I'm not a first-person guy. This is a B tier. Oh my God, can I just say something real quick? I love that I can variably change how fast I'm walking with the right stick to match the speed of the NPCs I'm next to. Ubisoft, why are you so against this? Tell us why. In Jedi Survivor, we return to Cal Kestis, who isn't just surviving, he is thriving. The story is even better than the last one. You get more gameplay mechanics right off the bat. I get to do the Darth Maul double-edged lightsaber, my favorite of all lightsabers. I kept pressing this button. I didn't know what it did, and it looked pretty funny, so I made an additional story plot where Cal's left hand has succumbed to the dark side, and so intermittently it just start acting up. But even without the dark side hand DLC, this is probably the best story in the entire series. It is a summer blockbuster, and I am putting it at an S tier.
Just admit you're mid and scared.
Scoreboard disagrees.
Shower power. Down goes the Wookiee.
Okay.
However you felt about that presentation is how you'll feel about Star Wars Hunters. Look, as far as mobile games go, this one's aight. It handles pretty well. I mean, if you're a Giga Chad like me, you're gonna dominate. Actually, I can't tell if the game was just like fluffing me up, putting me in bot lobbies because I was new. But I was the MVP every match. Like, I killed everybody every match. I didn't die. I didn't die the whole time I played it. It's basically like 4v4 team deathmatch shooting game, and it's dumbed down for mobile. C tier. Now I could be a real cool guy and F tier. Look, I wouldn't say it's S tier. I wouldn't even say that it's an A tier. I wouldn't say it's B tier. I wouldn't say. Nah, but for serious, I think people went a little weird on Kay's look. She ain't that bad, dude. Y'all acting like they made her look like Mama June. What I do find odd though is that they made Cal Kestis for the Jedi games, basically like a spitting image of Cameron Monaghan. I'm mind boggled as to why they didn't do the same with Kay when you got your voice actress looking like this. Ubisoft, what is we doing? I may be a little biased. I mean, I'm married to a spicy Puerto Rican, so I likes me a little chimichanga in my salad, know what I'm saying? I likes a little bit of Cholula on my huevos, you know, my eggs. The AI is bad. They like really, really bad. The stealth mechanics feel like something from 20 years ago. There's this security camera thing where you can't step into its like vision, and it's got like a little drawn area where if it sees you, you get caught and then you have to restart the mission. Sly Cooper already did this on PlayStation 2. When you go into vents, it's the only time you're in first person, and it's basically just a free cam, so they don't have to make a crawling through the vent animation, I guess. K-Voss does not like water. Like, do not go in the water. But at the same time, here's the thing. You know, we live in such a weird time that didn't even exist until recently. I doubt there was a single person that went into Star Wars Outlaws that was just completely oblivious, unaware of the online discourse that was going on. It's like when the jury is exposed to the defense team doing like a really big stunt on media before they go into a trial. Our perception to almost every new game is tainted. This doesn't excuse Ubisoft either. I mean, the gameplay that I played so far is really dated. But then there's stuff like this.
Then I suggest you find some rebels, Director.
If this dude says the wrong thing, he's getting 1,000 shards of glass. That is dark. This is one of the best scenes I've ever seen of Vader. They definitely were going for the same cinematic type blockbuster game that the Jedi series was doing too. The problem is the gameplay does take a bit of a backseat in this one. Instead of introducing fun and new gameplay mechanics, there's quite a bit of repetition of old open world action game tropes that we've been doing for like decades now. The world's beautiful. I like the way everything looks. I mean, dude, the cities are immersive and they feel lived in. They give this vibe to them that's like real Star Wars feel, you know? And the story is solid. So I'm gonna give Star Wars Outlaws a C tier. I think that's fair. If you don't think that's fair, then you can just wait.
I want to be ninja.
This is it. We found it, guys. This is it. This only makes sense if you watch the whole video. I don't know. If you did, you gotta check out playing every Fallout game ever made next. And if you're feeling kind of adventurous, maybe playing and ranking every Zelda game ever. At least that's where it's gonna be once it's finished.